So I am going to attempt to do a voiceover for you guys because a few of you asked me to for the certain lessons, and this video and lesson is so important for you guys to understand because it really does set the tone for all of Rome going forward. Now this is a 2-day lesson. I did put that down here at the bottom. Notice anything that has this blue color and the black around it, that's an important thing that you guys should pretty much pay attention to. So what that means is today we're going to write the learning goal and the first 2 parts of the notes, and then tomorrow you'll finish off the notes and do the homework. Getting started with the Punic Wars, you should have already watched a couple of the videos on Edpuzzle about the Punic Wars, so you should have a pretty good idea of what we're going to talk about. But this is one of the major battles and wars that people remember throughout their entire lives, not just in 7th grade. I bet if you asked an adult right now who has some inkling or some interest in history who Hannibal was, they would either tell you a serial killer from the movies or they would tell you a general who had something to do with elephants. So it's super important that you guys know who Hannibal is. So moving on. The learning goal for today is to explain the significance of the Punic Wars on the development of Rome and on our world today. Notice I did say only write the items with the blue outline after this slide. So you're still going to write the learning goal, but you are going to write only the notes that have a blue outline. Now, when I say that, I don't mean write them word for word. We talked about this before. You are going to paraphrase. So if you're watching my other video as well, where I take the notes myself in a time-lapse format, you'll see I paraphrase and I rewrite things all the time, even as a teacher, and that's fine as long as you can look at the notes and know exactly what I'm talking about in the future. Don't worry about the homework just yet. You guys are going to take care of that tomorrow. So, what are the Punic Wars? You're going to take these notes under the section of your notes that say, what are the Punic Wars? It's on the second page. The Punic Wars was a series of 3 wars between Rome and Carthage, also known as the Phoenicians, that spanned about 120 years. The first Punic War was 264 to 241 BCE. Now, BCE is often interchanged with BC. Academics nowadays are transitioning to BCE. Now, BC stood for before Christ or before Common Era. That's why they're starting to transition because they're trying to take the religion out of academics a little bit and make that line a little bit clearer as far as what's academic and what's personal values and beliefs. So if you see BC in older textbooks, that's fine. It means the same thing as BCE, before the year 0. But you'll hear in my class especially, we're transitioning to BCE. The Second Punic War was 281 to 201 BCE. The third one was 149 to 146 BCE. And the result of the wars was Roman's dominance in the Mediterranean Sea. Rome pretty much dominated over all aspects of these wars. They kind of wavered back and forth, but because of these wars, Rome really came out on top as a major leader. So in the beginning, you can see here on this map, red is the Roman Republic. Purple is the Carthaginian Empire. So they really had a pretty vast empire compared to Rome. And this is Syracuse, way down here in Sicily. It's just another map showing you exactly where Carthage is. You won't find Carthage on maps anymore because of the Punic Wars, and we'll get into that a little bit. But dispute over Sicily and the trade routes in the Mediterranean brought Rome into conflict with the power of North African city-state known as Carthage, because Rome wanted to get out in this area a little bit more and they wanted to trade, and Carthage pretty much had it on lock and said no. So Rome threw a temper tantrum and started a war. And this is just showing the trade routes of the Carthaginian Empire. You can see Rome's up here kind of by itself. Meanwhile, Carthage had all of this trade. So the First Punic War, these notes are going to go under the First Punic War on your handout on the first page. Again, you have to write the background, but don't write this word for word. So what I wrote down, the background is Carthage was founded 500 years earlier. There was a treaty of friendship with Rome, and Rome wanted more control. That's all that I wrote for mine. But it's important to know that they had lived in harmony for a really long time. Again, pause this video if you want to pause and take the notes directly off this video. I am also going to upload my time-lapse video and the presentation for you. So don't worry if you're not getting all these notes as I'm talking. I'm going through it quickly just so that you guys can figure out what to do. Triggers and causes. Now this is where the drama starts because war broke out with Sicily due to causing the Sicilians war broke out in Sicily due to the Sicilians asking for help from the Phoenicians who came to their rescue. So they were infighting, they were having some family drama, and some of the Sicilians went to Carthage and asked for help. But what ended up happening is they didn't like Carthage being there after they got that help. So they went around and they went to another friend, Rome, and asked them to kick the people that they had originally asked for help from out. So this is like some Twilight type drama going on. They asked for help from one person and then they decided they didn't want that person's help anymore. So they went to another person and asked them to kick out the person that they originally asked for help from. Now, Rome already wanted to get in on the action for the Mediterranean. So Rome was like, yeah, boy, and went in and started a fight with the Carthaginians. Ended up, Rome was victorious and the conflict started or continued for another 25 years. So Rome really took advantage of this situation, even though the Carthaginians were just trying to help to begin with. So they kind of got double crossed there. This was primarily a naval war. Now, Carthage had that big trade network. So they were already successful with the Navy. They knew how to maneuver ships, and the naval warfare at the time was one big ship would just ram into the next big ship, and whichever one was still floating at the end of it, they won. They were good, they were experienced. Rome had a really small navy because they didn't have that trade route. So they were repeatedly defeated by the Carthaginian navy. And this is an image of one of the ships. You can see here on this image, they've got this really long bow on both sides, and that was again because they would just ram into other ships. So what Rome did was Rome decided to change the game. They wouldn't surrender, so they turned the tables on Carthage by changing the rules. And what they did was they took these hooks and they pulled the Carthaginian ships close enough to where they could be boarded with soldiers, like you see in Pirates of the Caribbean, where you would get close enough and the soldiers just kind of jump off onto the other ship. And this made it a mini land battle, and Rome was really, really good at those mini land battles. You can see again images of the Roman ships. So what ended up happening was the Phoenicians gave up and Rome gained control over Sicily. They began to take more control of the Mediterranean, and they forced Carthage to pay tribute, which is pretty much just a fancy way of saying you have to pay for the war that you lost. Which takes us to the Second Punic War. Now, because they had to pay that money, Carthage went into Spain to recover its losses from Rome. They actually invaded another part of Spain. This would be like us invading Mexico or something like that and saying, nope, I have to be here because you're forcing me to pay, so give me your money so I can pay you back. It's a really roundabout way of thinking about it. The Carthaginians attacked a Roman ally who reached out to Rome for help. And rather than sending troops to Spain, Rome attacks Carthage, which starts a Second Punic War. So they didn't go to the place where people needed help or where they had invaded. They just went straight to their house instead. Which takes us to Hannibal. Now, Hannibal has a lot of slides. Don't worry about writing every single thing for Hannibal. Again, you should have seen some of this stuff in the videos, okay? He was a Carthaginian general and a brilliant strategist. He developed military tactics of outflanking and surrounding the enemy with combined forces of infantry and cavalry. Now, for those of you who don't know what infantry and cavalry are the people on the ground. Foot soldiers and cavalry are people on some sort of mounted weapon. Nowadays, cavalry is horseback cavalry. This would have been time 2 with Hannibal. It was elephant cavalry. different types of military. But the legend states that as a boy of 9, Hannibal begged his father to take him on a campaign to Spain, and his dad made him swear an eternal hatred of Rome forever and ever and ever. Now, the Carthaginian general Hannibal surprised Rome by not leading the army into Spain like they had expected, but through the southern France and the Alps. You guys saw this on the video with the elephants. He defeated the Roman armies and sent to stop him several times, but he didn't attack Rome itself. So he didn't attack the mainframe or where they expected him to attack. He kind of just attacked all of the little support structures around it, which settles a war of attrition. Now, what a war of attrition is when essentially people surround an area and force them to give up by taking away all of their resources and essentially forcing them to starve to death or get diseased. So it's not like you picking on the bully yourself. It would be like nowadays taking all of the bully's friends away and all of his technology away, and eventually him just having no friends and forcing to give up that way. Or if someone came to attack California, California is on fire right now, but they might close all the ports and make it so that no resources could come into California. So you really have to consider, instead of brute force, having that battle that way. Unable to defeat Hannibal in Italy, Rome sailed across the Mediterranean. So they didn't want to fight him either because they had already lost. So again, they just went straight to the source while they knew that Hannibal and all of the army would be away from the house. So it was kind of an easy place to attack for him or for them. And because of that, Carthage thought Hannibal's not going to be able to get back in soon anytime, so they actually agreed to peace terms with Rome. And as part of this peace terms, they had to do treaties. Now, Rome got Spain and Gaul as part of the treaty. Carthage had to reduce its navy to 20 ships. They had to pay 5,000 talents, which was their form of money, per year for 50 years. They had, but what happened was after they signed this treaty, Hannibal came home and Carthage was like, "Nah, we're not going to do that anymore. We don't have to do that. Our guy's back. Don't worry about it." So, until defeated by a Roman army led by a patrician general Scipio, which is part of your notes, you have to know that Scipio was a general. And they fought outside of Carthage at the Battle of Zama. So because Carthage lost outside of Zama, they just were punished again by Rome, and Rome made new demands, and they were like, "Hey, we made this first agreement. We thought that this first agreement was very generous and very fair, but y'all didn't think so, so now apparently we have to make it harder for you." So they said that Rome still got Spain and Gaul, but now Carthage had to reduce its navy to only 10 ships, and they had to pay double the money for 50 years. In addition to that, the big one was that Rome drew a line in the dirt, telling Carthage that if they crossed it, it would mean war again. And this is where I want you guys to watch the video and read a little bit more about Hannibal today. And then you are all done for today for history. So just make sure you upload videos of your work for today so that you get credit under the assignment. And then I will see you guys tomorrow.